Kia ora ngōhoma. On today's video we're going to be making sandwich wrappers, a fantastic idea that's going to prevent your sandwich from flying apart in your lunchbox. And if you're the sort of person like me that has that sort of trouble in their lunchbox, then you definitely need to watch this video and find out how to make one of these. So, I'll see you in the video. So, you're back. The materials that you're going to need are a piece of fabric, and basically this is my piece of fabric here that I've chosen, and it's 28 centimeters by 28 centimeters, 28 by 28. Now if you're doing these on a massive scale like myself and my colleague did with our respective classes, so about 60 odd students, we just made a simple template, so you can chuck that down on the fabric, the kids trace around it with a vivid and then cut it out. Otherwise, if you're doing it on a smaller scale, you might just want to use a ruler and just measure it out yourself. But this is my piece of fabric, 28 by 28. The other material you're going to need, the main material you're going to need is plastic bags. So that's the step that I'm up to now, and I'm just going to show you the method of what I'm going to do. Basically you need 2 plastic bags, and you're going to cut the plastic bags out to roughly make squarish kind of shapes that are going to match the piece of fabric. But what we're going to do is we're going to iron them together to make one heavier piece of plastic, if that makes sense. Kind of like similar like tarpaulin, which we're going to pin together to make the sandwich wrapper shape. Okay, so stick around and I'm going to show you the process of ironing together. So what you can see here is I've got my fabric and my cardboard on the floor to protect the floor. I've got my nice hot iron, and I've got my 3 plastic bags and a piece of baking paper to go over the top to prevent the plastic from sticking to the iron, because you don't really want that happening. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly switch to time lapse, but ideally, just so to be clear before I get started, is you want to keep the iron moving all the time, because if you rest it in a place too long, you're going to melt holes in the plastic, and it's going to be inefficient for your sandwich wrapper. Okay, so stick around and keep watching. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pin the sandwich wrapper into place with the plastic on the inside. So I'm just going to quickly flip over my piece of material. A common thing to happen to a lot of people if they've never sewn before, and it seems really silly and ridiculous at the time, but it's always funny when it happens to somebody else, is pinning it to yourself. So pinning the fabric to yourself or the material to yourself. So just sometimes it's better to work on a table like this or a surface like this. So all I'm going to do is I want to set myself up with a hem, basically, that I'm going to create a seam on my sandwich wrapper. So I just want to pin this in place in the middle first, and that's going to make it much easier when I come to do the corners. And I want to make sure that I keep my sandwich wrapper basically as a square. So I'm going to switch to time lapse and carry on. So I've pinned all of my sandwich wrapper into place and ready to sew. I'm just going to use my Singer 99 to do a straight stitch around the edge, because that's all my Singer 99 can do. You can use any stitch pattern that you like, as long as it's going to hold your sandwich wrapper together. Obviously you don't want to go too elaborate unless you want it to look beautiful and you're going that way, but I'm just going to do a straight stitch on mine. Hang tight so you can see the last step in the process. So I've just quickly trimmed off the excess pieces of plastic on the inside that I don't need, and I've got my nice square shaped pattern here. And so what I'm going to need to do now is I've got 2 pieces of Velcro, and one needs to go on one of the inside corners, and the fluffy side or scratchy side, but then the opposite side, the side that will make it stick, needs to go on the outside. So when they meet together, they go like that. So that's the next bit I'm going to do now. I'm just going to quickly run it through the machine, pardon me, and then we're basically finished, and I'll show you what the finished product looks like and how it all works. Stick around. So we've got our finished sandwich wrapper here, and all you do is you fold your outside non-velcroed parts into the center, then you fold your outside velcroed part down and then attach it at the top. Pretty straightforward really, and you get this lovely reusable sandwich wrapper for your sarnies. And probably whatever else. You could put like scones or something in there, or some other kind of food item in there that's going to keep it safe and looked after, and stick it in your lunchbox so it doesn't fly all everywhere in your lunchbox. This is a massive shout out to my friend and colleague Rebecca Waller. This was her idea, and the kids have loved it, heaps and heaps and heaps. My students enjoyed it, her students enjoy it, and so we've basically smashed about 60 odd of these. I've still got a few more to sew here, of various designs and patterns, and you can see, you can do it with any fabric, and the kids really enjoyed it, as I say. And so it's a really cool procedural project to do with your students, because we did this for procedural writing, so they have to write out the method of how they make it, follow it, and then they end up with this cool thing at the end. So I highly recommend this to anyone that's looking for something to do like that, even if you're doing some kind of simple technology thing where you're sewing, because you could sew this by hand. It would take a little bit longer, but it's still very doable. But yeah, fantastic idea. I'm really stoked that we were able to do this, and I'm stoked that I'm able to share it with you, the viewer. But for now, ka kite anō. I'll see you next time on Mr. Ashley's Place. Please remember, if you like this video, hit like, because you're not only liking me and Mr. Ashley, you're liking Miss Waller too, so big shout out again to her. And subscribe to the channel, because we're always doing something new around here. Until next time, ka kite.